Good morning. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning.
Good morning.
I see you. We're letting in, of course, our community, our loving community. I'm going to play this Finding True Refuge. It's a little 4-minute piece by Tara Brach that I thought was just so real and I think worthy of our inquiry with her. And so we're going to be waiting just a few moments. And then I'll play it a little bit after 7:30. In the meantime, it is my true hope that you are well, that you have peace, that you can find the way to true refuge. It's why we practice it, because life is full of many waves. Has anyone noticed that? I notice myself, and in the midst of waves, in the midst of the things, confronting the things we don't want, resisting the truth of life in its impermanence, in its ever-changing nature, in its aging, illness, and death, the realities that are always here, the Dharma, the truth of the Dharma. One of the places we're going to practice taking refuge today. In the midst of that, it's good to remember. In the midst of the storm, in the midst of the waves, in the midst of the inclement weather, there's probably infinite ways, in the truth of suffering. And that's a part of our forgetting, is that suffering, that resisting. We can always find our way home, back to the refuge, back to the sources that are always available and always holding us and always present. And so we're going to remember that with our practice today, our being that source of refuge for ourselves, for others. And I'll wait just another moment, and then we'll go ahead and play this little short statement by Tara Brach as she helps assist us on the path to that. I hope everyone is doing well. It's springtime. I leave for Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon tomorrow morning. I'm really excited. I have no idea what to bring, so I'm bringing mostly nothing. A couple pairs of hiking underwear and hiking boots, and for sure a shirt, hiking pants. That's all I could figure out. And a hat. I do have a hat now for that.
And sunscreen. It's
so
hot
I'm
up there.
Excited. And my husband reminded me yesterday, I had said that I had never been in a national park, which is just officially a crime. And he said, no. Remember when we were up for Jola's wedding, which was now 30 plus years ago, we drove through some part of the redwoods, and it was a national park. And I was like, oh, good to know, because I have seen the redwoods. So evidently, I have been in a national park, which is really exciting. I'm really happy 30-something years later to go back to a national park, and hope to make it a life. It's a life aspiration. Truly, to see as many as I might have time and energy and resource to do. And I am grateful, by the way, to COVID and to the quiet that has been required, and to the being with oneself that has all been required, that has supported my awareness that there is so much infinite, unbelievable beauty in this world, as well as the truth of the challenges and the difficulties that being in them, being among them, for me is a source of true refuge. And so I feel like what a perfect topic today. For me, I just saw that Pete came on. Good morning, Pete. Pete will be offering his teaching and guidance next Saturday. I'm so grateful for that, Pete, to say out loud, because I will be in Zion National Park, hopefully, still. So why don't we go ahead and play this little, I think you can see it. Carrie, can you just give me a thumbs up, or somebody?
Yep, I can see it.
If you can see the.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, got chat here. Thank you. Can anybody see that YouTube? I'm hoping you can. I'm going to guess you can. If somebody tells me otherwise, we'll stop. But let's go ahead and just listen to these few minutes by Tara Brach on the source of true refuge for her.
Believing in that something's going to go wrong around the corner and that I need to get more done to be okay. But every day when there's that quietness coming into that stillness, there's a remembrance of the who I am that's not living inside that story. And each time I touch that, that becomes more the familiar truth. And the conditioning becomes something that can be painful, but there's not as much lag time before I go, oh, okay, that's not the reality. Probably like a lot of other people, when I'm feeling a lot of pressure to get things done, there will be a repeating thought in my mind of, oh, I better stop meditating and get going on business. And it just comes up more regularly when I'm stressed than when I'm not. And so it just takes a little more effort to say, thank you very much. And yes, I'll get to business. But if I don't let myself have this space, I won't remember what really matters. So there's just more rounds of having to recognize that that same set of anxious thought and feeling is there, and in some way say, okay, later. Just takes a little more effort. And now it's been about 8 years that I became aware that I have a genetic disease that affects my connective tissue. So my mobility has decreased. I can't do a lot of the physical things that I'm completely crazy for. And it kind of came to a head. It was about 6 years ago when I was up at Cape Cod with my family and friends. And I've been all my life a complete ocean buff. I mean, I'd be the last one they'd drag out of the ocean at dinner time, and love boogie boarding, love running on the sand. And everybody went off. 2 carloads of people went off to the beach, and I had to stay back because I could no longer walk on sand and I couldn't any longer be in the surf. It was too rough on my body. And I remember when the cars pulled out that was one of those moments where it was like a profound stab of feeling loss and grief. And right along with that was this real longing. And the longing was, may I find peace and happiness in this life no matter what. And I remember weeping and sobbing. And when it finally quieted down, I just kept noticing, okay, feeling this grief, feeling this suffering. This is mindfulness of what was happening. And I remember when it quieted, I just started noticing then what was there. And I went for a very slow, easy walk with my dog Chayla on the path along the bay. And all there was, okay, there's this breath, and there's sky. There's the sound of the gulls, and there's a little of that kind of aftermath of real kind of sore but tender. And I realized in that moment that it's really okay. Like when I'm completely in the present moment, it might not be pleasant, but there's an okayness because there's a quality of space that has room. And there's a sense that I'm not, again, this self, this victimized self in the story, but I am that wakeful space and that tenderness. And that shift in identity that comes in presence, I consider a true refuge. And so that was a moment that really stood out as, oh, this practice of meditation, this practice of presence is life-saving. It gives me life.
I hope that you were able to see that. I'm getting a nod from Dennis. Thank you. Don't we all know the truth of that story? Don't we? We know the truth of change. We know the truth of uncertainties. We know the truth of confusion. We know the truth of forgetting. And without practice, for me, that's all I can speak to. For me, without practice, it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to forget, like every other breath, I can forget. And the beauty is, I can also remember from the practice itself, from the stillness, the silence, the holding space of the air around me and the sky and the earth. She was talking about nature, and I see that nature as one of our essential refuges, and we're going to incorporate that today. So I thought I would do this too. Let me see if I can find it now. I just pulled a little poem by Mary Oliver. Really, why? Because Mary Oliver, for me, is always just speaking to what's right here, the truth of the moment, right here. She makes it very not special. She makes it just life as it is, this present moment. And so I thought I would read this as our aspiration this morning. And this is by Mary Oliver. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of the lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep my company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. Mysteries, yes. Mysteries. Can we find refuge even in the mystery of this human life, rather than think that the place to find refuge, the mistaken false refuge, is to find the answer? No, it will not be the way. And in fact, we will suffer, because those mysteries, those very mysteries of us, of who we are and how we came to be, our continuous abide. So let's prepare to practice with that. So finding space, a place for yourself, and a posture that inspires this living, loving presence in you. There's part of the three essential refuge really right there. Living in the Dharma, loving within the Sangha, within the community, within friendships, within relationship, within connection, within community and belonging. loving, and that presence, that truth of awakening, of which we are all capable. May we rest in this. And may this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere without exception, omitting none, awakening us and freeing us all. And as we begin to settle and let the body find its way to the earth, with each out breath, we begin to come home. To our own earthen element, to this body, and to the earth beneath us. The truth of the Dharma, the external realities of the elements both within and around us. And so we let ourselves sink just a little bit more. We let go of all this scaffolding. We drop the weapons against ourselves and our world. And we sit. And the Buddha put his hands on the earth and asked it to bear witness. And the earth shook. You are part of this and cannot be separated. Can we remember? This is the essential reality. And as we breathe, we see if we can't let go of the false refuge and drop a little bit more into the truth, the gravity of the present moment. That which is holding you, even when you forget. We breathe and settle ourselves into the earth, letting this earthen body connect with its true mother, the same elements. And we also open to the other elements, one of our true sources of refuge, this beautiful open space around us. The truth of the waters and moisture in the seas and in the soil. The warmth and light of the sun, the fire element. That beautiful air we breathe. In the winds. We rest in the elements, remembering that we, as all living things, and all things are a part of this. One of the sources of true refuge is this remembering. I am connected, interconnected, interbeing with these 5 elements. And then we rest and breathe in that remembering. Allowing ourselves to come home. Remembering who we essentially are. Water and air and energy and space and earth. And as we rest in the external Dharma, we can also take refuge in that Dharma which resides within. The truth, the reality, the path, known this present moment. The living presence, the source of true refuge. Seeing things, being with things, opening to things as they are. Not only then do we know the truth of the nature around us, we begin to remember our own true nature. And as this begins to occur, we can rest also in that very reality, the truth of awakening, the truth of who we really are, born into this precious human life, to awaken and be free. We can rest in the refuge of awareness itself. The truth of our capacity for awakening, the truth that it is available to us this very moment, no other, and then this one. Can we rest and dwell in the mystery? Just following that instruction, look, see, be, hear. And we can feel the deepening presence of the stillness and silence, this vast and boundless capacity to hold everything, including you and how you are right now, with this body like this. Letting sensations simply rise and pass. Letting the breath be your guide. The refuge of knowing the body is the body. Letting sensations rise and pass, and even knowing our preferences. And letting those too come and go. And as we rest in this human body with awareness, this human body becomes the Buddha body. We rest in the knowing, this ever-changing, fluctuating reality of this body. Without being carried away or lost, without resisting or being identified with this body, we simply know the body as a body. And within this vast, open, and empty capacity of awareness itself, we can move beyond the body itself. We can also know sounds as sounds, resting in that vast, open space, letting sounds, just like sensations, come and go. And rather than following sounds or resisting sounds, seeing if we can't rest back in the silence, that ever-present silence from which all sounds come and go. And in this way, knowing sound is sound and silence is silence. Within that still and silent space, that vast, boundless space of awareness, we can also know thoughts as thoughts. And as we rest in awareness, in that living presence, we can see that we are, in fact, are not the thoughts, that the thoughts themselves simply come and go, and that there is an abiding presence. that vast open space of awareness that holds them all. And then we remember, I am not my thoughts. We are interested, curious, and friendly with each thought, allowing it to arise and pass. But we do not claim the thought, and we do not reject it. We hold the thoughts in equanimity. Within that still and silent knowing, knowing thoughts as thoughts. As we rest in this living presence of awareness. We can rest in the refuge of awareness, our own true Buddha nature in this Buddha body. As we remember, we can rest then in the friendship, in the community, in the embrace of relationship to all things. This is the loving presence, this essential true friendship, both to ourselves, to life, to all beings and all things. We practice this, inviting this remembering. the truth of interconnection, of the benefit, the value, and the need for the other and the other's need of you. And we let the heart open. We remember that essential care and love and friendship that has come from all moments past that allows you to be present here and now. Without this, you would not be alive. All the traditions, the lineage, the human hands and hearts that have helped and held others so that you could be alive and well here. We rest in that truth, that loving truth. We remember the Sangha of all beings that has come before, that has practiced and prayed and loved and held and cared so that you could have this life. We can call on these beings, these deities, these loving relationships as a true source of refuge, particularly in moments of difficulty. Remembering that this very source continues to hold us and care for us, and that many have committed themselves to this in behalf of you. For your ease and well-being, for your health and happiness, just as we do now, not only for ourselves, but others. We can rest in the Sangha of loving relationship, of friendship, of care that is here right now. this gathering of beings who show up not only for themselves, but for you. And we see if we can't make real and alive that loving presence. Can we remember not only our intentions, but the intentions of all those here, of all those practicing, of all those praying, of all those holding each other, carrying each other right now? And so we once again remember that we are never alone, that we are always conjoined and a part of this loving presence. And that we are offering and receiving with each breath. You can let it touch your own heart on the in breath and send it out. Sending that loving presence out with each out breath. So you become simply the doorway of loving presence. A source of true refuge, not only for ourselves, but others. And so then we rest in these points of refuge, this Buddha body connected to nature and the earth, this Buddha mind with the capacity for awakening, remembering each breath, each moment, as we bring this loving presence, not only to ourselves, but to others. This living, loving presence. And like the sky, it is not changed by the weather. It remains open, vast, clear seeing, luminous. And then we simply rest in connection, in wholeness, in love with everything. And we let that breath breathe you. And before we end, we gather those wishes, those intentions and aspirations. And we offer these points of refuge, both to ourselves and the world. May we all rest in the happiness of these real refuge. May we dwell in ease. May we be free of our false refuge, our preferences, our bias, our addictions, our distractions, our defenses, and our weapons. May we be willing to place them down. may we remember that no matter the storm, no matter the choppy waves and waters, that there is an open space, loving space that holds everything. And maybe I'll remember. And may this practice contribute. Just taking a moment, offering yourself a little gentle movement. I'm going to just scroll through, making sure everyone's okay. Happy to see you all. So one of the practices for me, and I've been really investigating this a lot lately. Who knows why things come when they do, is finding all the ways we mistake refuge and find ourselves in false refuge. And I think it's essential that and it makes me laugh, it's as important to know not only these realities, right, the truth of refuge and where it really is available to us. I think it's just as important to know where we look, where it doesn't live. All the ways we go, if only it were like this. This is the beginning often of my own false refuge. If only you were like this, if only I were different, if only life weren't that we make these constructs. We have these narratives about what life is supposed to be so that we can find refuge in it. And we're actually just asking for the weather to be different. If only the weather were different, then I could hold it, then I could abide, then I could be with, then I could show up, then I could love, right? No, but don't we all have the storyline? If only the externals were different, I could finally do what we just practiced. If the partner just was nicer, if right, I only had a little more of this or a little less of that, if the kids were something, if, right. And so one of my questions is, what do you notice? How do you wake up from that false refuge? We can call it addictive device. We can call it busyness. We can name some. What are these other false refuges? It could even technically be things like travel, like get me out of here over there. What other ways do you know false refuge? How do you wake up from it?
Hi, I can speak to that, Diana.
Thank you. Hi, Anthony. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning to everyone else. It's great to see you all. Yeah, for me, the big one is knowledge, like seeking refuge in intellectual understanding. And I'm happy to say that for some reason throughout this year, that's taking a back seat, albeit slowly, to feeling and intuition. But man, it's been a hell of a ride, and realizing just how, if only that false belief that, like, if only I found the right teacher, if only I did the right substance, if only I read the right book, if only I found the right practice in the myriad contemplative practices, that would somehow be the key to awakening. And that was, in fact, it was the opposite. It was like that was actually the hindrance to a greater understanding. And so I found that sort of paradoxical realization almost comical when it finally settled. So yeah,
It is funny, isn't it? You have to laugh, but hopefully not with condemnation or judgment, or you laugh at the, like, wow, it was right there all along. I was looking everywhere else. I, like you, Anthony, am an avid reader, seeker. I have read more books. I think you might be one of the people who've read as many or more, with the idea that the answer was somehow in there. Bookshelves full of truths. And it wasn't that there wasn't the truth in them. It was that I was looking over there and not really just right here, with the idea that if I could know something, yes, then I could rest. And I do agree, there's a truth to that. But the knowing, as you were just so beautifully saying, didn't come from any philosophy, any theology. It came from the knowing, the depth of that, cellular, literally, somatic, embodied, feeling, sensed knowing. And we often don't trust it. We often don't trust it. I have a lot of examples, as I know all of you probably do, where we finally let go of that other thing, whatever it was, because we saw that it wasn't working. It was just spinning us in circles. And I notice the nature of that being slightly addictive, like one more book, one more teacher, one more question, one more answer, one more drink, one more popcorn, one more, it doesn't matter, does it? That it has really a consuming, grasping. That's one of the ways I know false refuge. The more I seek, the hungrier I am for it. Like it doesn't really nourish, fill, fuel anything. And so that, I would say, is a beautiful signal about it. And it is true for me as well, that one of the qualities is this never quite getting it, always in the seeking, grasping, clinging, one more book, one more teacher, one more practice, one more And again, you all know your own um, versions of that. They're infinite, aren't they? But that's one of the ways I know false refuge. It's not actually nourishing. It doesn't actually fill you up. In fact, if you keep paying attention, it's filled with craving and contraction and wanting and gotta get it, which is a cause of suffering, is actually the truth of suffering, isn't it? And so thank you. I know this to be true myself, as I'm guessing many of you also do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. What else? How else do we know? We've named a couple things already, sources, the way to know contractedness, the hunger or seeking, the not really securing, the felt sense that what? For me, we are separate or disconnected. And it feels really terrifying and groundless, doesn't it? Like I've got to go get something. Um, that's the nature of false refuge. Pete, I see you. I'm wondering if you have anything to add.
Yeah, it's a nice segue from Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Good to see you. And I find there's a slipperiness to these things like knowledge, where it can be easily framed as something of benefit. And it does have benefit. For me, it would be like fitness and health. Since COVID, the gym's closed. So I have now accrued enough fitness equipment in my home gym that I could charge membership, right? It's beautiful, it's amazing. I have all of it, right? So I am now kind of in this state of collecting gym equipment and new exercises. And it, like, where it's not obviously like it is a hindrance, but it's not obvious in the sense that it's doing harm. Right? There's not there's yeah, there's a strong amount of enjoyment around it, but I recognize, and maybe if I continued down this path without awareness, it would eventually cause some harm. I'm sure it would, actually, from my experience of giving myself 2 back surgeries from overtraining in my youth. I know harm well, but at this phase, I'm more looking at opportunity cost. Right, the kind of obsessive mind that can cling to something even when that something still is in a state of feeling good. It hasn't reached that tipping point. I've recognized, and even during this practice, kind of see, well, what are the things I'm not doing while I'm kind of absorbed in kind of this clinging. Um,
Yeah, what do we leave out? I like that. I
mhm,
actually think that's another really key, like so focused, right? So absorbed. I love that word. So almost obsessional or
mhm,
in the grasping, singing, clicking, that you miss the whole.
mhm.
You miss the bigness. You miss the connection to everything else because you're so um, engaged, focused on this one thing. I have to say that's my experience as well. And when you see it, then what? When you recognize, wow, I'm a little wrapped up. I'm a little, what, how do
Yeah,
you work with that?
yeah, like it's clearly not an all or none, but just kind of a shifting of perspectives, reprioritizing kind of the way that looking up at the big starry night sky can kind of put things in perspective of, like, yeah, you know, still good, but in context,
Yes.
to the whole. And so, and then the re-remembering of that however many times a day, so I catch myself next time.
Yeah. I've already shared that Pete will be teaching next Saturday, and I'm very excited about that. And it's also lovely to see you. Yeah. Um, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
will be
stepping
an
in
honor. Thank
to
you.
that, because in some way that's a part of our practice as well, isn't it? It's that we practice uh, with and in and for community, and not only our own benefit, not only our own freedom or awakening, but that and others. So I'm grateful. to you, Pete, and to all of you, by the way, who are doing that also every week, who could easily find a way and a time to do this on your own in a way that often is easier. And there's no doubt about that, but there is other benefit. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you. So can people feel this false refuge? If I could get more of that, if I could navigate, if I could figure it. And we worked on equanimity, the exquisite balance on Tuesday. And it's why I wanted to come here today, because I think the wisdom of equanimity, the loving presence of equanimity also is essential in this, that we can see ourselves, as Pete said, in another, in the grasping, and not be lost by the very knowing it, by the very seeing it, that we can be freed by the very recognition of where we are in grabbing or wanting or not wanting, right? The resistance, I think, is also a reality. False refuge in I don't need or want anything or anybody can be just as destructive and lead to our suffering in that same way. So, we're just watching with genuine care for where we lean into these qualities. And that false refuge, I think, has, for me, I know a lot of pain in it, a lot of belief thoughts that this shouldn't be this way, that it should be some other way. If only I could figure out how to get to that, that I could be, have ease or calm or peace. And everyone, I've told the story many times, my own suffering in believing that the practice itself, and I'm not talking about any one type of practice, whatever that is for you, that it had abandoned me because it wasn't working. It wasn't giving me what I was looking for, which was to get out of unpleasantness. And I practiced really diligently with the idea that it would finally work. And that was never its promise. It was never its aspiration. And it was never going to happen. I was never going to find whatever I was doing, how many ever weights you lift, how many ever prostrations you do, how many ever greens you eat, the truth that of impermanence, of continuous change, and ultimately death is right here. And I thought the practice had abandoned me because I couldn't get out of it. I know better now, and in fact can rest in the practice because it keeps just showing me what's true. This is a part of one of the refuges, the essential dharma of the truth, and the fact that we are gifted this life to know it if we're paying attention. So I love that. I love that about the practices. I was at a breakfast yesterday and someone said, I do centering prayer practice. And I'm guessing that it's somewhat like what you do. And I thought, for sure it is. Yes, it is in the stillness and the quiet and the opening to that thing which is larger, the sky that holds all weather, whatever you call it. And how we practice that not only for ourselves, but in and with community. That lovingness has to become real and alive. And that's one of the ways we do it, because we do it together. And we'll keep that in mind as we practice. I have Chris here. My refuge is in you, that you would turn to the right page with the right message. Always searching for what is in me, and I am still trying to find that. Beautiful. Yes. Don't we look? We look to the teachings, to the teacher, to the Sangha, and it isn't like it isn't there, but we're looking for something often, I know, Chris, because we believe it's not in us. that it doesn't exist here, that it must be somewhere else, and that someone else, Anthony's books, Pete's Weights, my caramel corn, love, wherever it is we're looking, that it would be there that we could finally be safe. It would be there that we could finally rest. It would be there that we could finally feel and know the truth of a true refuge. And of course, no, not anywhere else. And yes, I still do believe also true that teachings and teachers and Sangha and our own capacities to see the truth can be helpful. So we have to be watchful, not to go into judgments about that. Yes, we do lean on others at times. And yes, I think it's fine that we do. Sometimes someone else's wisdom, love can show us the way to our own, but not because it's in them and not in you, because it's you're remembering through them that it is also in you. And I would say yes. So in that way, community and teachers and teachings are perfect. But not like over there, not over here. It's over there. I see it because it's also right here. So yeah, let's remember that together. What else about the refuges? What was your experience here? What did you notice? Oh, I could connect there, and wow, I don't know. I didn't feel any of that somewhere else. Come on, say hello. Let me know how that is for you, or chat that. Where did you feel it, see it, sense it? Where did you miss it? And go, I don't know that. I don't know that one. Yeah.
Diana.
Yes. Hi, Marie.
Hi.
Thoughts about this?
And I'm still having some technical difficulties, so I'm standing in the kitchen where I think my reception might be better. So I hope this is working.
You're right here now, so it's good.
Okay. I am laughing because my morning actually started at about 3:30 when I woke myself up screaming from a nightmare, which my cat did not appreciate. And I'm having some vertigo and a myriad other challenges, but guess what? I woke up again and looked at the clock at exactly 7:28 because I was definitely needing this practice today, and it's perfect as it always is. And I am really grateful for you and the other people that show up for this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, especially when you've had a difficult night, that you could bring yourself to this right in the midst of the difficulties, so that we could hold you and you could hold us. And that is the beauty of the Sangha. It is true. And it also makes me cry in gratitude, I have to say. And it's a beautiful thing. And that we can rest in this. Because everyone here, I know this, knows that scream, Marie. Everyone knows that distress. Everyone here knows the awakening in the middle of the night, feeling that fear, that disconnect, that aloneness, that distress. And we also all know the way through it, and sharing it, right, allowing it, saying that's what it was, is a big part of how we ultimately get through. We don't push it away anymore. We don't try to get around it anymore. We don't try to lie about it anymore. We just say it was scary like this. It was hard like this. And we say it out loud. Thank you. That takes a lot of courage so that we can all remember. That's right. Right in the midst of a storm, there is that open, still, silent space, and others. That's the beauty of the Sangha, holding me too. And so please remember to call on that. There are me and others holding you too, right in the midst of that screaming and the feeling like there's no ground, no solid source to rely on. There is, however, in that refuge, and this is where we really all need each other critically, right? It's not in the good times. It's right here when we're falling, when we can't see the way, in the dark hour, in the lost, in the illness, and if we can't open, then I believe we are truly lost. I believe that's where we're truly lost, where we can't say, and it was tough like this, it's hard like this, it's confusing like this, I don't want it like this, then we are lost because we're lying about the part of the truth of our humanness. And that's not the way. There's no benefits there. Thank you once again. Yes, well wishes from several of our Sangha. And by the way, I know all of them because they all know this too, don't we? And if there's anybody who doesn't know it, could you come on and tell us the secret? Anybody out there who could go, I don't know anything about suffering. I don't know anything about the difficulty. I don't know anything about that scary night, that feeling completely alone, that feeling completely disconnected. And actually, in our fear, it is ultimately for me in the lying about it that we're truly separated, not in the truth telling about it. It's when we lie and go, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Always good. Looking good, feeling good. Everything's good. It's just not true. And I don't care who you are. And that's what everybody's saying. How much ever you know, it's not going to be true. How much ever healthy you are, it's not going to be true. However good you eat, not true. How much ever you're loved, it is not true. Right? Because this is an ever changing landscape. And so there are moments of abundance and there is moments of aloneness. And how do we hold them all? And this is our continuing practice. It's why I practice. I practice because then I remember. Okay, I can, yes, it right in the midst of that. I know also that I'm being held by infinite other sources. I know this. I know this for sure. And you are one of those sources. And I am one of those sources. And all those who came before us who know the truth of this are one of those sources. And all those to come are also one of those sources. And so we can rest in this. And I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. We have a few minutes left. What else? Courtney, I see you. I'm not sure if I see you because there's something you wanted to say or you're just showing us your pretty face. Yeah. Good. It's good to see you and know you're here. That counts too. Anyone else?
I will
Yeah.
say,
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
good morning, that piece of sitting in love and knowing that we're held by so many, I thought of all of the people that practice with those same aspirations of causing no harm, of the wish of true happiness for others. And I had never really thought about it in that way. And it was just a really beautiful moment that no matter when I'm practicing or what I'm doing, there's so much that's holding it. And it was just a beautiful uh, feeling, and now something that I will remember.
Yes, that's right. Wonderful. Yeah, I don't think I have to say honestly, I don't believe I made contact with that for a lot of years. Even though I was practicing in a tradition with a gigantic lineage, somehow it never occurred to me that the way that I got to this was all those others who had walked the way before me, including you now, who are doing this practice as well as your other practices and walking that way for and with others. Like it just didn't occur, like it looked like it was all about me for a long time, like my practice and my finding the way, and the insanity of that. Um, and then also the rest that comes when you go, I don't have to work so hard, really. I also have to open and rest in what has already been crafted and discovered and known, and rely on it and really give myself to it in a more complete way, so that I don't have to spend so much time recreating the wheel. Uh, one, and that every time, I love what you said, every time I practice, I remember, I take a lot of time to remember that I'm practicing for everyone, and that they are practicing for me, that you are practicing for me. And then how can you not rest? How do you not rest if you know this? Look at all those names right there: Adrian and Carrie and Lisa and Jeanette and Seth and Satya and Dennis and Marie and Anthony and Pete, and right? That they are practicing on purpose. On purpose. They showed up on purpose for that, so that you know that they're here not only for them, but for you. And that's a lot of love. That's a lot of commitment to rest in. Wow, really, isn't it? And so let's rest a little bit again. Thank you all for those comments. They're essential, aren't they? They're essential to us understanding this path this way. And I'm grateful for you, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be practicing if it weren't for you. In fact, I know that completely. If it wasn't for the Sangha, I wouldn't have gotten up. I wouldn't have spent some hours reflecting and practicing and opening myself. I wouldn't have. It would be very easy to take a walk and get some coffee and just be thinking about me. So thank you. So let's rest in that vast open space, filled with awareness, filled with love. Filled with those loving arms of community. The truth of the Dharma is this: we need and rely and support each other. I don't want to do it alone. So please keep showing up and practicing. And we rest in that stillness and that silence. We find the points of refuge, our own true nature, our own Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, David, loving nature. And then the noise settles and the seeking stops, because we remember. And then we just breathe the breath of being alive and being awake right here. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all be free from suffering, from cravings, from addiction, from denial and the causes for suffering. May we all live with ease and equanimity. And may we all remember all that has come before, all that is present now, and all that will come to support us on this path to awakening and to freedom. And may you too remember that you are a refuge. And may we remember these blessings, take great delight and be glad. And may all beings be well and all things be well. And may this practice contribute. May we live and love and joy, happiness, and freedom this very day. So be it. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Blessings and love to you. I don't know where I'd be without you. It's a scary thought. So thank you. I will look forward to seeing you Monday night after I return. I think that's the 19th. I'm leaving tomorrow morning for Bryce Canyon and then Zion. And I'm so excited to be there with my sister Libby. That's going to be a great opportunity for us. I'm really excited about it. And may you enjoy your moments as well, whatever those are. And remember, we don't have to go somewhere else to find refuge. We actually have to simply come home again and again to ourselves, to the present moment, to the love that is already here and available to us. So thank you to Greg, who will be offering guidance on Tuesday and Thursday, and to Pete, who will be offering guidance and teachings on Saturday. Thank you all so much. I look forward to coming back on Monday and the following week and sharing with you how amazing it all was and is. Have a really wonderful day. Enjoy this day. Be well, everyone. Mwah. Love to you. Take good care, everyone. Be well.